Rounding to the hundreds place. Let's identify our hundreds place. The 3 is the digit in the hundreds place. It is worth 300. Circle the other two digits. Now you can see we have 300. That'll be our first endpoint. We're rounding to the hundreds place. So our midpoint is going to be 50 more than 300. And our final endpoint will be another 50 more. So our two endpoints are 300 and 400. The answer will either be one of those two endpoints. Now we're going to take 342 and we're going to put it on the line in the correct place that it belongs. 342 comes just short of the midpoint. Whenever we are short of the midpoint, we round down to the smaller number. So 342 will round to 300. Now you can see we're doing the same thing, identifying the hundreds place and circling the other two digits. This just shows us that the first endpoint will be 600. Add 50 for our midpoint for 650. And our final endpoint will be 700. So our range is 600 to 700. Again, the answer will be one of those two endpoints, depending on where the number falls on the line. 684, as you can see, is going to go past the midpoint. Whenever we go past the midpoint, we know we're going to round up to the larger number. So in this case, 684 rounds up to 700. Once again, identify the hundreds place, circle the next two digits, and you can see we have 200. That'll be our first endpoint. Add 50 for our midpoint. Add another 50 for our second endpoint. Now because we're rounding to the hundreds, you're probably noticing that each line I make, I'm not counting by 1. I'm actually counting by tens. So I'm going to count by 10 until I get to my number 250. 250 happens to be the exact midpoint. That doesn't mean that's the answer. No, when I land on the midpoint exactly, I round up to the second endpoint. So 250 rounds up to 300. In this case, we have no digit in the hundreds place. Since there's no digit there, it's going to equal 0. Again, we're rounding to the hundreds place, so we're going to add 50 to get to the midpoint. Add 50 more to get to our second endpoint. So we have 0 and 100 as our endpoints. As you can see, 82 has gone past the midpoint of 50. We know that that means we get to round up to the second endpoint. So 82 is going to round to 100.